A very common thing when you're working with couples is there'll be a couple, and the guy will say something like, "Oh, I don't need to take my wife on dates. I don't need to be, courting her and doing all these little gestures. And I work really hard, and so therefore I should be able to get what I want out of the relationship, and I don't need to do these other things." And the guy just kind of feels entitled, like he gets to have all the things that he wants in a relationship, and because he's working hard, he works his butt off every day, and therefore, by golly, he's going to get what he wants out of the relationship. And I also see a lot of women, and this is a trickier situation, where the women will be like, I just don't have any desire for any sort of physical intimacy in the relationship, but I want to stay married, and I love my partner, and I respect them, and they do everything. I couldn't live without them, and this is I'm in this wonderful, loving relationship, and everything's great, and I just there's no need for physical intimacy. That part of our life is over, and I'm happy with that, and it's all over and done with. Now, sometimes both partners are happy with that. Most of the time, though, I would say this is what happens, and I've seen this, and I've worked with this, is that when this is going on the side of the man, the first scenario that I gave, the man who's like, yeah, my wife should give me what I want, in the bedroom and all these kind of things. I'm entitled to it, and I'm entitled to her being married to me and all these kinds of things because I work hard. And so I'm not going to be romantic, and I'm not going to do any of these other things, that are important to her. Is it she, coincidentally, often is not interested in him in the bedroom. And not only that, sometimes she gets fed up with him and wants to divorce him. And that happens. I see that happen all the time, where she's like, I've been waiting around forever for this person to actually have this loving, romantic relationship with me. But they don't care about what's important to me, which says to me that they don't care about me, and so they get a divorce. And with men, on the other side, with women, who are, saying, well, everything's wonderful, they're doing everything for me, they're loving, and they do fulfill all my needs, and I'm having this wonderful relationship with them, and I want to stay married to them, and they provide for me really well, and all these other great things, but, I just not interested in intimacy. And you ask, well, are they interested in intimacy? And they're like, yeah, I'm sure that they are. And they're like, well, does that bother you at all that they're interested in intimacy and you're not interested in that at all with them? And you don't, do you care that that's important to them? They're like, yeah, I care, but I'm just not interested anymore. In fact, the thought of doing it just sounds, I just don't want to. And then if you bring up, well, it's very important to your partner, sometimes I get angry. Like, how dare you? All they want is me for my body. They don't want me for, who I am. And again, this is complicated. And the best way that I've been able to break all of this down is to look at a marriage relationship in the context of 4 different relationships. And here are the relationships. Number 1 is friendship. Number 2 is romance. Number 3 is the bedroom relationship, your sexual relationship. And number 4 is family obligations. And if you don't break it down into these 4 relationships, something is going to be missing for somebody. It's going to feel hollow and empty. And guess what? Your relationship is most likely going to fail, or it's going to be miserable, and people are going to wish that it failed because they're not happy in their relationship. So, if you do not know how to maintain a friendship with your partner, you don't understand why they don't like you, there is some psychology there that you may need to learn. And second of all, if you don't know what romance is, and if you don't know how to be romantic with your partner, there's some psychology there that you need to learn. And by the way, romance is not sex. These are very different things. You need to treat them differently. They're very different relationships. And if you're not maintaining a romantic relationship, it's very likely that your partner is miserable. Okay? So you need to look into it. You need to resolve this. The third relationship is your sexual relationship. And for most couples, this is a real problem. Now, usually it's a problem because the other relationships are not being maintained. But if your sexual relationship is not enjoyable, there are probably psychological reasons why it's not enjoyable, and you need to address those because ideally, if you're doing it right, it's going to be a very enjoyable experience for both partners. Even if they're not interested, just the closeness, the intimacy, and the other things involved with it can be very enjoyable if you know what you're doing and you do it right. And lastly, familial obligations. We have these expectations in our culture, in our society, in our lives, and with our things that we care about. And if we care about our partner, then what's important to them is going to be important to us. And if it's not important to them when it's important to us, that sends a message to us that they don't love us. So I strongly, strongly recommend that you evaluate your relationship in terms of these 4 different ways of relating: friendship, romance, sexual intimacy, and family obligations. And if you don't know how to maintain these things, or where to get started, or what to work on, or how to improve things, please check out my marriage course. It's at www.docwadsworth.com. There is a link in my bio. If you can't afford the marriage course, I've tried to make it dirt cheap, but if you can't afford it, just message me and we'll work something out, because I don't want anyone to not have this, not be able to help their relationship, and we can work out some kind of lowered price that you can afford. If you're not happy with a relationship, if there's one of these 4 relationships that's lacking, do something about it. Don't just continue on being miserable. Now, eventually, I'm going to have more courses on parenting. I do have a little tiny piece on parenting and familial obligations, but I want to make a whole course on parenting. And then eventually I want to have a course available for mental health as well. Those are not out yet, but they're in the process of being made. So when those are available, I'll let you know.